So we're going to be talking about money. We're going to be talking about us, lots of self-reflection, but mainly money to start with. So for a bit of context, I saw Ali Abdaal post a video on YouTube. I see it in my notifications. I have loads of notifications um, on my phone, but I didn't watch it. Then I think a couple of days later, I was browsing around YouTube, as I do, and I saw this video critiquing Ali's keyboard. And I was like, okay, I'll watch that. I'll have a listen. And after watching that video, I then had a look at the video that I had ignored Ali put out, and it was a reaction. It's like, okay. So essentially, I watched the critique video of Ali's keyboard before I watched Ali's keyboard review, and I think you were the same.
I had already seen the keyboard review video like when it was first published. I don't know
Ah.
why, but it just showed up on my feed. Thank you, YouTube-y algorithm-y thing. So I watched it because I like the tech reviewing thing. I like being in that space. So I was like, oh, I'll watch this. And it was not a it wasn't a nice review,
Nope.
but it was a keyboard person reviewing a keyboard, so it was going to be much harsher. And then I saw this video of Ali, and I was like, either this is going to be a long line of reasons why and excuses, or it's going to be interesting.
I think it would be interesting either way.
Well, yes, it would be, but that or they'll be like, oh, this is actually a less polished version of Ali.
So what were your takeaways from his, what is it, 40 minutes video?
I had a weird, it felt weird. I can't really define it much more than it felt a little bit weird. I did. You can definitely see the shift in focus from productivity to making money, from being a bigger business, which is totally fine, is not a blah blah blah, etc. Because that's what we all do.
Yep. At the end of the
We're
day,
in
a business needs
business,
to make money.
you gotta make money. But it was interesting to kind of see his like reflections on his own product. Did I agree? I saw the point that he was trying to make, but it was a little bit.
See, for me, obviously ethical and moral differences, there's going to be those everywhere. Whenever you sell something, someone's going to say, oh, well, I could have done this and done it and got it for free, etc. Okay. And having spoken with Julia recently about lecturing, how does a lecturer add value to the learning? Because if they can just get the book or the AI gives them the information online, what's the lecturer adding value to? And when it comes to a business selling any sort of product, I would ask, okay, what value is it adding? For the YouTube course, most of the information Ali shares is freely accessible online. What value does he add? Potentially his personal feedback inside of the course, and maybe some of his experiences that isn't online, some of those nuanced conversations.
Hmm.
That's I believe the added value. For the keyboard, his argument was, or from what I understood, his argument for making the keyboard was he wanted to make something cool. But to me, that's not a reason to sell something. It's a reason to
Mm-mm.
do something, not necessarily to sell something.
I think that was the sticky point. So it was cool. Okay, cool. Then to make yourself a keyboard and don't charge 100 and like
£160 for it.
£160 for it. Like, make yourself an 80 quid keyboard and then like, or don't sell it. Just make it for yourself. Like what could have been done. And of course, we're not Ali. We can't, all that stuff.
Mm.
Make it for yourself. Then maybe once you've made it for yourself, people are, oh, what's that keyboard? That keyboard's interesting. Then it guarantees people are interested in the keyboard
Yeah.
before making, because I do feel sorry for him because he's now got a lot of stock that he needs to shift.
Yep.
Versus, so in many ways, it was kind of a bit of it was cool, a flash in the pan kind of idea that he just went through and threw out there. And he probably learned a heck of a lot, judging by the video he did, which is fantastic. But equally, it's cool isn't enough to sell.
What's interesting, or what was interesting for me, the reflection that he made inside of the video is one that I made like 2 years ago when doing the courses stuff. I'm looking at the product and I'm thinking to myself, okay, who is going to benefit from this? Is it worth me sinking the time, effort, money, in his case, into making this thing? And is it going to be valuable? And this is something that I learned straight away before doing any sort of products, selling any sort of templates, is YouTube. Yes, you have your time, but you're not sinking money into something on a fingers crossed hope, yes, it's going to work. And that's how it felt like the keyboard project started. And Alex's reflections seem to express that same sort of doubt. He mentioned in the video that he had some doubt about, oh, I don't know whether this is going to work. And he just pushed it away for various reasons. And to me, it's interesting as someone that I haven't sold as many things as Ali, and I don't have as large audience. I don't have the same income. But it's interesting that the lesson that he learned, or that I understood that he learned, is one that I learned 2.5 years prior with a much smaller product, which is why I
Mm.
don't sell big products, potentially why I don't earn as much money, because I don't take the same risks. Again, risk aversion is going to be different for each person, and the way that they morally look at selling something or buying something, and the way they market things. And I think marketing was another critique from the product launch. But that reflection to me, it's interesting as a non-business person. Like from the outside, you wouldn't look at me and go, "Oh yeah, you're a business person." But I look at that reflection, I sit there and go, "Well, yeah, duh." And that was just an odd experience for me, looking at this person that's earned lots of money that are by definition successful, and I'm like, "Well, yeah, duh, that's kind of obvious." And yeah, and I don't want to make it sound like I know everything. I don't, but it was an interesting experience having heard that conversation.
I think also there's, and this is a guess, I do not know, but I think there's a lot of what I found because at one point in my business, I wanted to scale. I hired people to work for me. I bought on not employees, but contractors. And so the pressure that that adds the moment you bring on contractors that you're paying and they're, part of their livelihoods is your responsibility. It ramps up the, okay, I've got to make money and I've got to make money fast and I've got to make money this way and I've got to make money that way and I've got to do this. And so it very much moves into a I need to make more money, which makes sense from like the perspective of Ali and where Ali is right now, where he has like I think it's like 30 employees now.
No, no, he cut it down. Well, if you add them all up, depending on which video you're going by, and obviously I don't know his stuff, but going from what I understand, he's got 13 to 17 full time, and then he uses
Okay.
consultants,
Yeah.
like freelancers
13
and
to 17.
consultants.
Yeah, exactly. And that's quite a bit.
Yeah,
That's quite a lot of pressure for one because it as he said in the video, it's all on him.
yeah. And
And
this
I
is
do
this is
not
what Colin
and
and Sunil
I
talk about.
and I from experience do not envy him in that way because I tried that. Oh my gosh, no. It just didn't work. It didn't work for the way that I want to operate. It's hard to build when it's a lifestyle business, as it's called, where it's just you, maybe a VA, maybe one or maybe a video editor, or in your case, like maybe just one other person who helps. It's fine. But the moment you start adding more people, you bring more people on, you become responsible for their like livelihoods in many ways, depending on how much you pay them. It's like there is a lot of pressure.
Ecologically speaking, it's a dynamical system, and as the business grows, additional systems get integrated, which adds different energy costs, energy sinks, which is obviously stress. And I think that is,
Absolutely.
yeah, and I think that is why. So I say early decision. I made this decision as I started YouTube. I'm doing this me. It's
Yeah.
for me. It's about me. It was mainly for my personal development to start with and developing confidence. That's why I started making YouTube videos. And when I started earning a bit of money from YouTube AdSense and different sponsors and selling whatever it was, I decided it's me. It's only going to be me. And the only reason I brought an editor in is because they asked and they wanted to develop their editing skills. It wasn't a I need an editor, I'm going to go get an editor. It's
Mm.
I know a person that wants to edit and they can use my content because they don't want to record their own stuff. So for me, I have an employee, but the employee is more of a student that I'm helping facilitate with the environment. I'm helping them explore their skill development using my content. So it's for me a win-win. But for Ali, he's brought people on, and that adds a huge dynamic to the way that you create content. And that's why I avoid all of those traditional like corporate business decisions. Because I don't want it to be a corporate business. I want to be a coach. I want to be a
Mm.
helper, a facilitator, an educator. I don't want to be a business person. Yes, a
Mm.
business person is what I do, but I'm an educator first, business person second. And I
Mm.
feel because of Ali's dynamic in the business that he runs, he is a business first, educator second. And
Yes.
that is where the morals and ethics of some of the products, i.e., this keyboard, conflict with me. And
Yes.
I feel like other
Likewise.
people.
Yeah, I think that is very much the case. And some of the things, like for me, I've been going, so what actually am I doing here? Like in my business over the last kind of couple of years, because I've had a period of time where the need for my business has dipped and I needed to be more around for my family, and then it went up again, then it went down. Like it's very much, well, a dynamic system. And the environment is constantly changing at the moment. And so it's like, okay, what do I actually want to do in my business? Do I want a business? But there was a period of time when no, not really. I just wanted to spend time on my kids. And for me, what changed after removing employees or contractors, like full-time contractors, was it was just back to me. Do I get anywhere near as much done? Not really. Not really. Could I bring on more people and make more money and earn more this and earn more that? Maybe. But for me, it's got to the point where I'm like, okay, I'm just happy that it's being me. Does that mean I'm slower to respond sometimes? Yeah, sometimes because it's just me and I'm okay with that. It's moving away from that always accessible, always responding, always, like that constant. I think it's the CEO-ness of it all,
Mm.
of the managing other people and managing this and managing that. And like in a similar way, I think for me, I am more of a coach than a business person. Like I enjoy coaching more than I do enjoy running a business. I can do it, but I have the skill set, but I enjoy the coaching element. I love having conversations with people and helping and facilitating cool things, whatever those cool things might be. That is what I enjoy, and the business piece comes secondary.
So there's an interesting change here for me because obviously most of the work I do is for me. I am an educator. I'm a sole educator, entrepreneur, whatever you want to call it. But as I mentioned, I believe in the last episode, if not, I'm going to say it now. I'm looking at starting a trampoline club slash community. And obviously, me doing that, yes, I'm in charge, I am in control. But if I have another coach, which I will do because I won't be able to coach 20 kids at once on 4 trampolines, it's not possible, which is where I'd like to get 8 trampolines and potentially 4 or 5 coaches. But those coaches are employed by me. So I would be a CEO of some kind. Yes, I'm still a coach. Yes, I'm still doing
Ooh.
the educator thing, but I still have to pay those coaches. I still have to manage their hours, their wages, and all of the other logistics that goes along with running a club, i.e., charity status, business status, CIC status, whichever I choose, funding for equipment, paying for facilities, all those financial burdens, I put in air quotes there, would be down to me. And that obviously adds similar, not the same, but similar pressures to Ali's business. So if that does happen, maybe we revisit the conversation because maybe I'll have different views. But at the moment, the stresses that I see Ali has are not necessarily due to, but certainly contributing causes are the people that is under him that he has to pay and the expenses he has to work out how to manage,
Why
balancing the
did
books.
you said if?
Yeah.
Why is it still an if?
Because basically local authorities and politics. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I'm in the process, and well, I've been in the process for the last month and a half, trying to navigate all of the loopholes, the paperwork, the pieces of paper. Obviously, coaching, you need DBS, you need safeguarding, but then I need British gymnastics qualifications, which means I need a level one and level two. But I can't do my level one until, get this, I've done 4 3-hour virtual calls with someone that's going to educate me on how to do a warm up for trampoline. Yeah, okay. And bearing in mind, for those unfamiliar, I have an undergraduate degree, 3 years in sports coaching, 2 years in strength and conditioning. I've consulted with professional athletes and coaches, and I've done independent research for the last 6+ years on top of those degrees in sports coaching. But I need to do these webinars with these people that are going to educate me on how to do a warm up, which is probably going to be on the floor. And then I'm going to ask them, hey, why are we doing a ramp protocol on the floor when trampoline is on a trampoline? And they're going to look at me and go, what's ramp? This is my guess. Raise, activate, mobilize, and potentiate. But if you're doing potentiation for youth athletes, why are you doing it on the floor? I'm not even going to go into it. But yeah, so there's that. And then to actually run a club, I need a level two. But a level two, again, these are all expenses, these qualifications. They've got to pay for all of this. And then the level two is like a year, takes a year to do. Why does it take a year to become a level two coach? I couldn't explain that to you. I really don't know. And then because of British gymnastics and the way it works, I can't coach certain skills because I'm not qualified. Again, air quotes. So again, that's another loophole I need to sort of navigate around, or piece of paper, qualification, safety, regulation thing I need to navigate around. And for clarity, I've coached those sorts of skills. I've coached doubles, I've coached Rudies and falls and those sorts of things, but I'm not qualified, piece of paperwork qualified. And then facility and equipment. I need to have a facility that's tall enough, that has the storage, that is available. And at the moment, there's no one in charge of the facility because they haven't sorted that out yet. Because facility is changing hands, so different organizations are in charge of it. It's just a whole. Yeah, I'm trying to align really disorganized government and local authorities with other organizations that are trying to do similar things and I'm trying to piece like everything all together at once because it's a chicken and egg. I need equipment, but I need a facility. I need a facility, but I need equipment. I need qualifications before I do any of this, but I don't want to pay for the qualifications if I can't do the thing. So that's the if. Yeah, and
That
that's
sounds like
that's on
yep.
top of the three YouTube channels and the other consulting and coaching and templates and all the other stuff. So yeah, yeah, fun times.
Not too much to do then.
Oh no, 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 no. I mean, as I said to you yesterday, I was in Brighton. Yesterday, I was in Brighton at a deaf conference because I want to bring deaf accessibility to trampoline. Then I got the train back from Brighton to Eastbourne and then literally ran to my car to drive to Hastings to trampoline or to coach trampoline. Yeah, these are all of my days at the moment. I'm like, right, I'm on this call, then I have 10 minutes to do this bit, then I got this call, then I got an hour to try and script this video before that call, then I need to go there, then I get home and cook, sleep, and then do the same thing
So
again.
how and why?
How? Calendar, vigilant calendar management. It, it's the only difference between what I'm doing now and what
Hmm.
I was doing before is the buffer time is me traveling rather than me sitting here looking at something or being interested in something else or watching a video. Instead of that, it's travel time. Why? This comes down to my philosophy is I want to help. I want to give value back to someone, to some people. That's why I started making videos. Like I
Hmm.
wanted to help first myself, but then other people interested in
Hmm.
what it was that I was talking about. Be it Notion, be it Obsidian, be it whatever technology piece of tool. And the YouTube stuff I do is to help other people. I want to make education free for everyone. Like the levels at which I am educated, higher level education, I don't think it should be hidden behind paywalls.
Hmm.
But that's theory. I want to do practice because knowledge of is different from knowledge about, using terms from ecological psychology. So in order for me to express knowledge about, I need to have experience, which means actually doing the thing. However, there are constraints within every club, every environment, every community you go in, and the constraints in the other trampoline clubs are not quite they're not quite flexible enough for me to do what I would like to do. Trying to be mildly political here. So
I want to probe, but also there's the
yeah,
political aspect that
I'm
maybe
I'm
I
I'm trying
can't.
to navigate what to say and who may or may not listen. Because the trampoline, I guess I'll just say it as it is because I'm quite open to having the conversations. It's whether I want to have the conversations now or in a few months when I have a potential club of my own. The trampoline world and the British gymnastics and gymnastics world in general are very performance dominated, as is a lot of performance sport. It's are you going to go to the Olympics? Are you going to be a professional football player? Are you going to do professional sport? That's mostly what sports is about. The English Institute for Sport, EIS, is we are performance sport. We will help you become whoever. As much as I like that and I don't disengage with performance sport, my interest is participation and physical activity. As I've said multiple times, I would rather have 20 kids in a trampoline session that have no chance of getting to the Olympics, but are having a fun time, than two that might get to the Olympics. That's my interest. In
Mm.
trampoline, that's called recce's or recreational. So I'm more interested in recreational trampoline than competitive trampoline. But the way that you coach recreation and competitive or participation and performance is drastically different. And most trampoline clubs and gymnastics clubs, from what I've seen, are performance driven. And when you look at ecological dynamics and the best technique, trampoline being an aesthetically dominated sport, you need to perform to the judges. There is a perceived right way to do the thing. You jump in the middle, you keep your body straight. You don't bend your knees too late because then you're floppy. You keep your stomach tight because you don't want to be floppy and energy dispersal on the trampoline. You want it to go up, a bit like a rod. You want to be able to fly up. Performance, yes, that makes total sense. Recreational, they do not care. Like one of the boys I'm coaching in inverted commas to jump. He does not care about staying in the middle. He does not care about keeping his body tight. He does not care about doing a seat landing, a front landing, a back landing. All he cares about is having fun on a trampoline. He just wants to jump around. And he is autistic. Where autistic? What diagnosis? I don't know. But his mum said he's autistic, so please, and then gave me a load of things I need to be aware of, which was just he's a boy. He's a boy on a trampoline. I will coach. I don't need this long list of things. But performance, traditional coaching would suggest I need to get him on the cross in the middle of the trampoline, and I need to keep him tight. I need to get him pointing his toes, put his arms above his head when he's at the top, arms down when he's at the bottom, and keeping him in the middle. No, no, I let him jump. And you know what he was interested in? Hearing the springs. He was somewhat fixated on the springs. When
Mm.
you jump closer to the springs, i.e., the outside of the trampoline, not where you're meant to be, the springs made cool sounds. So he jumped around the edges of the trampoline, like doing the exact opposite of what a trampoline coach should be getting them to do because he was fun, because it was fun. And you could see his face. His face when he got on the trampoline, he heard the springs, he was jumping around, he was enjoying himself, he was having the time of his life. That for me is valuable. But most trampoline clubs and coaches, from what I've seen, wouldn't encourage that. It's dangerous for them to be on the side of the trampoline. It's not safe. Or, well, they're not going to do somersaults there. Well, I would argue they would. You look at the professionals when they mess up, they're on the side of the trampoline doing like really like spinny flippy stuff. I would say the name of skills, but it would mean nothing. Spinny flippy stuff. And they start on the edge of the trampoline and come back to the middle. So the skills are there, differential learning, constraints. Can you do a somersault that's not cross to cross, middle to middle? Because you will travel. Do you practice different parts of the trampoline? And it's those sorts of things that I would want to bring to a trampoline club.
Mm.
But doing that drastically changes the philosophy of most of the coaches that I've experienced. And
Mm.
I wouldn't want to have that conflict between myself and the other coaches because that brings a dynamic for the individuals that I don't think is healthy.
Mm.
Because now you have coaches arguing.
Yeah, and that's not great.
No. So I'm quite happy to do the performance coaching thing. Quite happy to do that. I know how to do that. I can do the tick box stuff, and I can coach the way that they want me to coach in that coaching environment. But there are things that I would want to do that I don't think would be accepted in that environment by the head coach. And I don't want to put the head coach under those pressures. So making my own club makes the most sense. Does that add competition to the other coaches? Yes. Because essentially I'm setting up a business that's doing the same, that's giving the same services, or similar services at least. And that's the business dynamic to running a trampoline club.
Mm.
I've spoken to a local coach, and I don't know whether how piercing the comment was meant to be, but I I joked like, well, there's a facility available. It's got the height, it's got the storage. Why not start a club? And the sort of the side comment was, well, you're in competition with me. Now I can take that in lots of different ways, but to me, I'm like, yeah, yeah, I am. I am. I know that. And that's just business. That's just clubs. Like you look at any sport, it's the same thing. I personally, the way I look at that, I would rather have three trampoline clubs within 15 miles and people go between different clubs like they do with football and basketball, badminton, whatever, than have one club that dominates an area.
Yeah, because then there's that differentiation between.
Because some people may prefer them as a coach. Some people may prefer me as a coach. And for those unfamiliar with the trampoline world, it is very female dominated. When you look at the competitions, you'll get 100 girls in a category and you'll get four boys if you're lucky. And so when you look at the coaches, a lot of coaches are female as well. Does that mean you get more boys train? Does it mean you don't get boys training? No, because there are some clubs that have more boys that train than girls. It sort of emerges that you sort of turn into a boys session and a girls session because boys tend to gravitate towards the boys. I think I have no proof for this. It's all anecdotal. I think it's because of the culture of the coaching.
Mm.
Because from what I've seen, girls obviously go to the girls and the boys go to the boys and the boys coach the boys, the girls coach the girls, like on the same trampolines. And the coach doesn't encourage the group. It's okay, you're over there on that trampoline, you're over there on that trampoline. There's very limited sort of integration between the individuals. And when they're off the side, they just sit off on their phone, talking in small groups, rather than helping the person on the trampoline. So if, for example, a boy is on a trampoline, the girls will be off in their group talking. And if the boy wants help, they'd either get their friend who will be a boy or a coach. The girl doesn't go up and just spot or push the mat in. It's just not a thing. And I don't think it's disencouraged. I think the coaches, when you ask them, say, oh, yeah, yeah, they can do that. But just because it's an opportunity doesn't mean it's something that they're going to take up. As we know when we're speaking about affordances, it's an invitation. Is the invitation taken? Most of the time, no, unless there is guidance from a coach, which is why I say I think there's a coaching culture there.
Mm. Yeah,
So yeah,
the
and
world of sport is hilarious.
well, sport and physical activity, and this is something that I would, I guess, I'm going to bounce off you for a second here before we lean towards the us talking about our Berlin experiences. Obviously, you have experienced me. You know what I'm like. I don't know what I'm like from another person's perspective because obviously I'm not them. But as an adult, would you be interested in going to a trampoline club? Like, obviously, you can't forget because we've now spoken about this, but disregarding much of what I've said previously on recording and off recording about trampoline, would you have ever thought about going to a trampoline club?
No,
Would you now, being honest?
yeah.
Interesting. Interesting. What sort of trampoline club? Do you know? Do you know what you would be looking for?
It would very much be one that is not about performance. It's about getting on and having fun. Like it would be that, I can't remember what you called it.
I've said a lot of words.
Yeah, I know. It is very much that just for enjoyment, participation, just for
Mm.
fun,
Oh,
to
recreational.
recreation, that's the word. I just that I didn't even consider that to be a thing until our conversations.
Mm.
It was a club is for people who want to become there and achieve
Compete.
lots. Yeah, compete. I was like, well, why would I go there? I'll just jump trampoline in the garden. But yeah, that I would be more interested now hearing what you've said and what like you want to achieve to do that.
So, do you go to trampoline parks at all? Have you thought
Now,
about it? No. Why not?
would time is the majority of it, but I have been kind of guiding Aiden and Aaron more because we have just a garden trampoline. I know it's not the same, but guiding Aiden and Aaron with some of the things that you were telling me about. Oh, that's cool. They would probably enjoy that. And they've been on them more frequently and having a lot of fun. And one of the things that both of them struggle with is like energy, like
Mm.
releasing that energy and like,
Trampoline will definitely do that.
and it does every single time. I like get on that trampoline. Oh no, Ronnie, I'm boy. So it's not boring. Go and try this. Try that. Like, here's the thing you can try. And they really enjoyed it. Like yesterday was a good example. They were both, it was very hot yesterday. It probably is up
Mm.
there with you as well. It was very warm. And they were inside. And I'm like, why don't you try this, right? You want to be on your phone? Fine. And they were doing a slow motion video on their phone. I was
All
like,
right.
well, why don't you take the slow motion? Why don't you try this? One of you jumps on the trampoline, and the other takes a slow motion video of the other on the trampoline, and you see what happens. And they were loving it.
Yep.
They were loving it.
I
And they were completely exerting their energy. And it was very easy and very simple. And it was just like, all right, cool, done.
Yeah, when I was coaching yesterday, there was a there was a girl there. So she's 9. She is 9, and she was very very quiet, very in herself. And I was on a different trampoline. There was another coach, an older guy coaching, and she said like no words, not nothing. She did the skill. She looked at the coach. The coach said words. She did the skill, and that was basically the first hour of the session. And for me, looking, it looked very awkward. Like the interactions looked very awkward. Because, like I say, she wasn't saying anything. She was very in herself, very tight, she looked closed. And about 15 minutes of me coaching on that trampoline, she was answering. So I asked her how things felt. I wasn't telling her how to do things. I just asked her, like, do you think you were straight there? And it took a bit of like easing and guiding for her to build up some confidence. I mean, to start with, it was literally just like a really small like nod that you could hardly notice. Like, yes, I was straight, or no, I wasn't. But after about 15 minutes, she started talking. And then after about 20, 25 minutes, she was doing what's called a flat back. So landing completely flat on the trampoline, but we were pushing a mat in. So she was doing this flat back, and she was saying to me, oh, I think that was straight at the start, and then I bent at the end and my legs came apart. So she's giving me feedback on how she feels about the skill, and it's a conversation,
Mm.
which is like drastically different from her standing there like a robot, completely silent, tense, doing this skill. And towards the end of the session, she she was doing back bounces. So she was on her back, so knees up, sort of like an upside down turtle sort of thing, like flailing her legs like a bug. And she's trying to back bounce. And on one of her badges, one of the skills she has to do to pass tick box thing, is to do 5 back bounces, and she's not been able to do it ever before. So I was standing at the side of the trampoline. I said, do you want to give back bounces a go? And she looked at me a little bit worried. And I said, we'll just give it a go. So she did 1 or 2. I was like, okay, that's good. And then I just started counting 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And all I was doing was counting. And she got up to 15.
Nice.
She managed to get to 50, and I was like, where the hell did that come from? That makes no sense. But she did that. So what was the time? So the time is 52. We finished at, yeah, so she did that for 10 minutes. She was on the trampoline for 10 minutes straight, just doing back bounces. That's all she was doing. And her face was lighting up. She was enjoying it. And she got told to get off by the older coach that had moved away, started packing up. It's like, you need to get off. It's time now. But instead of her sort of rushing to get off and running over to her dad that was watching at the side of the trampoline after her go, she wanted to stay on and do it again. That to me is huge. And that is what I want to see. That is why I want to coach. Because, wow, like it sounds weird, but I'm tearing up just explaining this because it's so powerful. And for me as an individual, when I was on the trampoline, it's so powerful to have that freedom, that fun, that control. Is she going to compete in like the Olympics? Probably not. She's too old. It's going to sound weird, 9-year-old being too old. But a 9-year-old in trampoline, if you're not doing singles, like single somersaults by then, you're not going to be put into the English team unless you have some drastic development, which we haven't seen. Maybe with ecological dynamics being put in, that might happen. But most people, it just doesn't. Yeah, unless they transfer from another sport. But I don't care. I really don't care. She's enjoying that. And I'm like, yes. And that's what I want to see adults doing. I can see an adult having fun like that.
Mm, yeah.
You could probably feel my passion coming through the voice,
Oh
but
yeah. No, it's really cool. Yes. I know that's my common phrase for everything, but it very much is a yes. And I remember with when I taught guitar, it was a similar experience. So them not wanting to leave. It was them wanting to keep playing, keep moving, keep going, and just be like, yeah, 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 and getting excited.
it's a question
Exactly.
for you.
Yeah.
When, assuming all the politics and the logistics that goes out, when the club is a thing, or I don't know whether I call it a club or a community or a what, because club feels too professional, but community just seems a bit, don't know, not,
Yeah.
yeah,
Community club.
yeah. So when Eastbourne Trampoline exists, would you visit Eastbourne at all?
Sure. Like go work out. Yeah.
Yeah. I just thinking, maybe worth giving a go because I don't know of many. I know of clubs in Plymouth, but I don't know what their clubs are like. So
Mm,
yeah, maybe give trampoline a go. Well, I'll have to see.
that'd be fun.
But yeah, coming on to reflection in Berlin, we were discussing this last week after the call.
Yes.
I guess I've just spoken about myself. Do you want to share your thoughts on who I am experienced wise, or
Who you are? That's a weird question.
yeah,
Yeah, I don't know how to answer that question. Mike's, you were so. I think the big thing was just how relaxed you were. It was almost infuriating because it was interesting because in kind of the environment I'm in, everyone is very on edge most of the time. And I'm I'm the one who's more relaxed and calm and helping everyone through. And it was a really different dynamic between us because I could tell I was the one that was really kind of, it was anxious. I mean, I am anxious. I have anxiety. That is, lots of new things. So obviously that makes sense. But it was just like, yeah, no, we can do that. Yeah, cool, we can do that. Yeah, cool, we can do that. It was really simple. It was really easy. I think that's the best way. It was really easy just to I didn't have to not even look after, but I didn't have to do anything because it was just done. It was just like we would, yeah, cool, let's do this. Cool, excellent, yay. At first, it was infuriating because I needed to know where I was going, just to have that for me. I needed to know where I was going. But you were like, yeah, we'll figure it out. No.
do you want to give an example experience? What one that sticks out?
I think one of the example experiences was when I think it was the first day when we were trying to find our way to the um the university.
Okay.
I had Google Maps out. I was looking, trying to find the best route. And you were like, "Yeah, we'll figure it out. Let's just walk this way. I think it's about that way. Oh, I can see that over there. We'll go that way." And I'm like, "Yeah, but yeah."
You wanted the instructions.
Yeah, I was looking for the instructions. Now, I am recognizing all of this now, and it's been quite interesting to watch like flipping back to me, my experience. I think that was the first experience of someone not either looking to me for instructions or instructing me, because those were the two kind of things that I experienced in
Yeah.
the majority of my experience was someone was instructing me or I was instructing them. I was the decision maker or I was the one being told what to do. And it was a really interesting dynamic of not being told or not having to tell or not give instructions. It was very much, yeah, we can do that. What do you want to do? I don't know.
That's exactly how I coach as well. Like how I coach
Yeah.
trampoline, which, as I've just sort of expressed, the person on the trampoline often is confused. Like when I asked the girl the question, she looked at me and then looked at the other coach and then looked at her dad and then looked back at me and was like, I don't know what she's thinking, but it looks like she was looking for the right answer. And
Yes. That is exactly the
what do
sim
you want me to say?
yeah, that's often what I get from um my son and everyone in that. Since coming back, it was kind of, I think, almost the catalyst. Berlin was a bit of a catalyst for me of a shift of the way that I interacted with other people. Because like, oh, do you know what? That was the most relaxed I had been in a very long time.
Did you start relaxed or did that emerge?
No, that emerged. I was incredibly stressed, and then I was just like, okay, cool. I don't actually have to make any decisions. We can just see. It was right at the end where I was just like, okay, cool. Let's just. I'm just gonna follow. I'm just gonna enjoy it and just not worry. That was right at the end. I wish it was longer. I think I would have wanted it to be a bit longer for that to enjoy that a little bit more. But that was kind of my experience of you. It was incredibly annoying.
It's interesting you say that because from my perspective, it's like you expressing that, it matches the way that I perceived your experiences. So
Oh yeah.
obviously, to start with, when we first met, even in the car park, you were I don't want to say on edge,
Yes, I was
but
on edge.
but you had like an agenda. Like we do this, then we do this, and we go here. And I was like, I'ma just follow and do as I'm told here. But I mean, even getting to the plane, it's sort of like we need to hit this time, go here and do this. And you knew where you wanted to be, what you wanted to do, how you wanted things done. I was like, sure, yep, doesn't bother me either way. And then about halfway through, after a couple of like wanders, because I think it was the first time or maybe the second time we went
Oh
to the
yeah, there's that
university.
one too. You walk a fucking lot.
Yeah, yeah, I do. Well, I'm active.
I
I've got
wish I
loads of
knew
energy.
that.
I've got loads of energy.
Yes.
And I
Yeah.
don't drink caffeine. But yeah, I think it was when we went to the university, maybe the second time, we were early. And you were like, well, what do we do? I was like, let's go for a wander. Let's just walk. I think on that walk, for me, you started to not open up,
Yeah.
but be more to go with the flow, like actually
Yes.
live with what it is that we're going with rather than we need to be at the university for this time. We need to be there. It's like we've got 20 minutes, half an hour. Let's just walk that way and see what's that way. Yeah, okay, we can do that. Like
Yeah.
that was the first. Oh, okay. Then when we went down to the beer garden for the second day, you were there. You weren't, wait, where are we going? What time are we leaving? When are we eating? Like those, you didn't ask. You just came along, sort of thing, like with everyone
Mm.
else. Yeah, that for me was it was interesting to see how you shifted over the time. I mean, I personally didn't feel any shift in my behavior.
No,
Uh, no, you didn't
no,
see one either.
no.
But yeah, because what's interesting is looking at the way you were behaving, it it reminded me of before university because I was very much the same. I
Mm.
needed to be everywhere on time. I needed to be there, as I said, I think last week after recording, I was like, okay, if it starts at say 1 o'clock, I need to be there 15 minutes early to make sure that I'm accounting for all the traffic. But then I need to make sure that I don't get caught up for being early. So I'm like early for being early. And depending on how worked up I would get before that, I would be early for being early for being early for being 15 minutes early. And it's so silly, end up being an hour early for something. Why? Because of the arguments that I was having within myself about not being late.
Mm.
And then you end up procrastinating in speech marks there about actually going in. 'Cause you're like, well, what if they think that I'm too early, or what if they aren't ready for me, or what if they think that I'm weird because I turn up so early? So you wait, and then how long do you wait? And then you end up being like bang on time because you spent so much time thinking about what could happen, what might happen, that you're not actually early anymore.
Yes, that is very much how I exist. Less so now than it was. That has been reduced. I wouldn't say it's gone
Mm.
because
It takes
the
a long
rest of
time.
yeah, it takes a long time, but that is very much like I want to be early to things, and then I end up early.
See, I still have those thoughts. I still think about those sorts of things, but the way that I approach it is, as you've seen, very open. I am openly making decisions I'm looking, I'm going, okay, these are the constraints I have. What can I afford to do? And because
That that right there is what I have started doing, and it's been really interesting. Like that even saying it like that, like what is available to me? These are all the options. This is the thing. These are the constraints. What do I want to do? And
yeah,
that has genuinely changed a lot for me.
I feel like it opens up instead of having to follow the instructions and follow
Mm,
this is the best route, this is the fastest route, this is where we need to be. It's okay, this is what we're working with. These are all the opportunities, the differential learning, constraints-led approach, whatever you want to call it. These are all of the opportunities for behavior. Which one am I going to pick? Well, let's
mm.
just start and see where we go and see what makes the most sense at the time, which is obviously, as you saw me in Berlin, that's how I act. It's like, let's go and see what happens. If we go the wrong way, no, okay, we go the wrong way, we just turn around and go back again.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, it's quite freeing, and that's the way I approach not necessarily all the decisions, but whenever I'm behaving, that's how I behave. Like this may scare some people, but yesterday when I went to Brighton, as I mentioned, I made that decision on Wednesday to go Saturday. I knew that the trains were striking, but I didn't know when. So I didn't know what train I was going to buy, when I was going to go, who I was going to go with, when I was going to meet them, where I was going to meet them, or where the facility actually was. So this might scare you a bit, John. I got on the train and I met up with a person on the train. Both of us got off the train at Brighton, and she looked at me and said, "Do you know where the venue is?" Now, if you were in my position and you didn't know where the venue was, would you worry? We had 15 minutes from the train to the start of the event, and we didn't know where the venue was.
That wouldn't happen.
All I knew was the venue was supposed to be a 6 minute walk away according to Google Maps, because that's what Eventbrite had said. But that's it.
Yeah, I think for me, where
I didn't know what direction, how far the actual
yeah,
walk was. I didn't know what the building looked like.
for where I'm at now, it's if I know my destination and I know enough about the destination, I'll get there. Like that's kind of where I'm at in my experience. Is that I need to know where the destination is, and if I can just see if I have one additional piece of information, cool. It doesn't matter what it is necessarily, but it's this is the location. This is where as long as I have a direction that I'm going in, I'm okay.
Right. That's
So it's
drastically
still there
different.
is still
That's drastically different from you in
yeah,
Berlin.
yeah, yes. Where I was going down street views and making sure we chose the right street view and gave yeah,
Yeah, you were very instruction driven.
yeah.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
is very different.
yeah. And what? So, yeah, I guess you'll probably relate to this because of our conversation and our walks around in Berlin. But when we got to the center, we didn't realize it was a community, like the community center was there because we hadn't seen any labels or signs or anything. They were just big buildings. How we knew where to walk, there was a map outside the train station that said Brighton Community Centre. We were like, oh, it's that way. And then we followed and we saw another like post-up map thing. It was like, oh, it's that way. And then we turned left and it was like, it's down here somewhere, we think. We walked down, we went past it. We didn't realize we went past it. And then we were looking, thinking, this isn't right. So we turned round and then we crossed the road and we were looking around and then we saw other people signing. We thought, oh, okay, that must be where it is. So we found out where it was because of the information afforded to us because of us directly perceiving through action, obviously. Seeing them doing the sign, we're like, okay, we must be in the right place. And it wasn't until 3 minutes before we went in that we saw the sign that said Brighton Community Centre deaf event. And it was up on the wall the entire time. We just hadn't noticed it. So the information was there. We just hadn't attuned our attention to that banner. And that's why I don't
It's
fixate on
very much,
instructions.
I think, as I think about that, it's very much the information.
Yep. The woman I was with, she was looking for a big door. So she was looking for something that wasn't a sign. So she didn't see the sign. She was attuning her perception to certain pieces of information, i.e., a big door, a big banner, a big sign. But it wasn't a big door, a banner, a sign. It was just a small sign of like on the side of a building. And then when you walked through, like down these stairs to the left, and then there was the big door sign thing. You're like, oh, okay, right now it makes sense. But so she had attuned her focus elsewhere, and to be honest, I wasn't really looking for anything. I was looking for people that signed because I that's what I was looking for. It's like find the deaf people. You're probably going to find where you're going, which is how I saw the deaf people. So neither of us were attuned to the information that we needed in air quotes there needed to find. Following
Mm,
instructions. Follow the instructions. You will find this sign at this point, blah, 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 blah. Neither of us were looking for that. So we didn't see that. And it wasn't until we both were comfortable in we are in the right place that we saw it. I'm like, oh, duh.
mm.
So I just don't stress over those sorts of things anymore. I used to a lot, but nowhere near now.
Yeah, I'm a lot less. Still have that moment, but it's a lot less than it was, even in Berlin.
What word would you use to describe your experiences now in comparison?
Freeing, I think. It's very freeing.
Yep.
Legit freeing. It's just like, okay, cool, we're just gonna do something and just go there and see what happens, and it's fine.
Yeah. It's For me, it's it's sort of like uplifting, freeing, as you mentioned. And inside of most environments that I've been in, whether it's in business, whether it's in sport, whether it's in a conference, wherever, there is always this it's tension in the air is what's discussed, but there's this dynamic between individuals that there's a right and there's a wrong, there's a should and there's a should not. And
This reminded me of, so I do not attend most of my other half's family events because I have a very um opinion,
yes.
and I don't want to be surrounded by people who behave in that way. I'm just no. But it was their nan's birthday, my partner's nan's birthday, and I absolutely adore her nan. And so I was like, no, okay. And it was very interesting to watch not only my partner, but my partner's family and their interactions and see, oh, that's where the behavior was learned. But it was interesting to also watch Tori and Tori being far more relaxed than in previous times. And I'm like, interesting.
Do you know why? Oh, yeah, you, of course, of course.
I think it's because since adopting an ecological approach in the house, things are a little bit, even though there is a lot still going on and a lot of issues, since adopting that approach, it's become easier to navigate. I wonder why that is. Very interesting going to Aiden's school for a meeting because I started using using an ecological language, um and it was very entertaining.
Well, I assume you're talking to the teacher?
Talking to the teachers, the Zen group, the people who are supposed to do their jobs but aren't.
Yep.
Yeah, so it was really interesting to speak. I was like, you say you do these things. Interesting. Okay, cool. Um, no, No.
So I'm intrigued when you say Tory's behavior changed, and you said since adopting the ecological approach in the house. How so I mentioned about the unspoken tension. How has that tension dynamic shifted? Because obviously all tensions shift. More or less, better,
Uh,
worse.
It has shifted. Sometimes there's more tension, but other times there's a lot less. Overall, there's a lot less. Often the tension is with obviously two preteens coming into teenagers wanting to just argue back. There's that, which is a typical dynamic, who just was like, I don't want to do this. Okay, these are the things. This is a thing. Here are the options.
It's interesting you describe that as tension
Oh, yeah, that is interesting. Is it tension? It's probably not.
because that's learning,
Yeah,
and that's what you would want.
yeah.
Because
Cool.
if you've
Yeah.
got more of those situations where individuals are going through troubling situations and they're exploring what they can, can't, should, shouldn't, will not do because of whatever consequences, then they're exploring an attractive landscape. They're exploring their
Mm,
opportunities and they're developing skills. Developing skills, obviously, there's going to be some tension, but a different type of tension. For me,
mm.
that's a positive tension. There's energy being expended to try and figure out what's going on. It's not a flow state where everything just works.
Oh yeah, yeah. It is definitely a different tension. There is less. It's very slow, but there is movement from every like the environment we're in is very like well, like every environment is very dynamic right now, and there are lots of things going on. There are lots of constraints that are being added externally from
Hmm.
other situations. And so us all trying to navigate those is quite interesting. And yeah, but I don't know whether it's even, I don't think there is tension, but it is different. There is that it is more questions being asked. And even like my other half's relationship with knowing things, it's like they always put themselves beneath me, which I found really frustrating. Um, but it's kind of like it's reaching an equilibrium.
I don't know about that. Slightly more fluid. I would imagine, I guess the analogy that I want to try and use, I don't know whether this is accurate, so again, I'm just thinking out loud here, is tensions previously would be like stacking anything solid on top of one another, sort of building up this thing, this solid building. Whereas now the fluid is more you're adding water into a jug and it's just flowing sort of thing. So as energy is coming in, the fluid is flowing, so there is more of it, but it's fluid. So something from the bottom can get to the top, whereas a building, once it's at the bottom, it's at the bottom. And to be able to get to the things at the bottom, you've got to dig through all this other stuff. And the digging through the other stuff requires a lot of energy. And
Mm.
there isn't as much energy required to get to the experiences backwards in time and current futures. There's
Yes.
not as much
Yeah.
energy to get back there. It's just fluid.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe we could describe the tension as less rigid.
Yes. Yeah.
There's less rigid tension in the household.
Yes. Yeah. That matches the experience. It goes quick. It dissipates quicker. The tension is there, and then it kind of just
That's good to
goes.
hear.
Yeah. It's very quick to dissipate. It's like, okay, cool. Feelings. Nice. Gone. We're good. Not gone, because that's not.
That's one of the things that really annoys other people because they've mentioned it to me before, is they say, you don't get angry. Oh, I do. But once I'm angry, I sit and reflect and think, is this helpful now? No, not really. And then gone. It's done.
Yes,
Finished.
I very much frustrate Carl with that one.
So I'm not going to sit here and be angry for the next 20 minutes. It's just
Yeah.
not beneficial. It's adding a constraint to an environment that is not
In,
useful.
in particularly that one is hard with Carl. He does struggle with that one. I get frustrated, I get angry, and it's done. It's over with. It's never ever brought up again, and in fact I probably don't remember it.
Don't
I'm just not
remember.
interested.
You don't try.
Yeah,
You don't think about it.
I just don't think about it. I just don't care. It's just whatever.
Yeah,
Just meh.
I think the only time I readdress times where I've become angry is reflecting on the reasons before and after. Like,
Mm,
why was I angry? What reason was there for being angry? Because then I can learn from my experiences. So, I guess a practical example here, my editor, she wasn't doing anything wrong per se, but she was adding unnecessary effort to the edit, which was extending the deadlines. And I got angry. I got annoyed because I'm like, I want to hit a deadline, and you're adding unnecessary baggage to this, which is adding complexity to what I've got to do, to what you've got to do, which doesn't actually improve the output. But she's doing it because it's fun.
mm,
So I got angry at that because we're not going to hit the deadline because you're doing this stuff that's unnecessary. And there was two approaches I could take to that is stop doing that because you're making her deadlines longer. Or I look at it and go, okay, actually, the reason she's doing this is for developing her editing expertise. So I reflected and actually no, she's doing what I would want her to do. Is it making an inconvenience to me? Yes. So how do I then shift that landscape? What do I need to do to actually hit a deadline if she does want to explore those things? Either I need to do more work or I need to add a constraint to the way that she works so that we hit the deadlines earlier so she can play. And that's how we evolved the interaction. And now we're hitting deadlines far easier, far quicker, and it's working, even with both of our dynamic work lives being very hectic.
yeah. It is interesting when when we talk about it with people outside our little bubble, the family bubble, of like, oh yeah, well, I don't know how I get everyone. And my kids never do anything. My kids do this, and that's just like they're so over. I'm like, yeah, I know. We just did this. Like one of the first things we implemented when I recognized we were all basically triggering each other. So one of us shouted, made the other one shout, and the other one got upset. That like everyone was just unable
Mm.
to like we were just stuck in yeah,
Linear causes A to B to C
yeah,
to D,
yeah.
instruction. Someone else is angry, I must be angry too.
Yeah. And so it's like, hey, cool. We just put into place something as simple as like that we have the red, yellow, green or red, orange, green of like we're ready to if we're red, just nope, nope. Like we are not okay. We just need to be left. And
Yeah.
that is an agree and we can all any one of us in the house can say that and everyone like it's we just agree to that.
It where did you where and why did you come up with the system? Because I've used that coaching since what, 16, 17?
I don't know.
Because to me it just feels intuitive.
I know. Exactly. It was just okay, cool. What we need a way of us being able to communicate we're not okay without having to speak that because sometimes that will go nonverbal and we'll just shout.
Hmm.
If we have to verbalize what we're saying, we shout, and then that does not help. So we needed something. Okay, what's really simple? Oh, let's go one word. Just point at it. Red, because it's the shortest, it's the sharpest. It's just no red. No, no.
That's
Um,
interesting. So for the family dynamics in my house is we we don't have a traffic light system, but we all recognize when one person is getting frustrated. We all
mm,
recognize that and we shift the way that we communicate with that person at the time. My sister and I, it's quite kind of funny. My dad has a much shorter fuse than the rest of us. And when my dad gets annoyed, both my sister and I change the way we speak because we know if we speak in a certain tone, that it's going to wind him up. So we don't. And it's the same with my sister. It's the same with me. Like we all recognize that when that person is getting wound up, we know what's going to push them and what's not going to push them. And everyone knows that. I mean, most siblings will recognize, I don't know whether you've got a sibling or whether you've got someone close, but you know when that person's getting annoyed, you know what to do to push their buttons. Like
yeah,
you know how to annoy them. And that's you recognizing that their physical energy state is different. So we do that and we've matured now and grown up and gone, okay, yeah, that they're feeling irritated, I'm going to leave them to it. And there was a similar situation, just as a practical example. My mum was trying to explain to me how she did sewing when she was younger, and I was not understanding it. She was getting frustrated. She was getting worked up. I was like, okay, fine. And I just sort of ended the conversation. She went downstairs about 5, 6 minutes later. She came back upstairs and said, yeah, sorry about that. I was getting annoyed. And then we worked it through. Both of us self-organized our behavior because we recognized the situation needed a break. That happens in our household all of the time, and it's been like that for 10 plus years now.
Mm.
It took a while for my sister and I to grow up and obviously recognize these things. But that, for me, is an ecological approach to arguments and discussions which evolved because of the dynamics in the household, which is why I think us as a family are quite close. Other
Mm.
families, I feel, follow instructions, rules, right, wrong. You sit on the step because you did something wrong, rather than exploring the landscape of the interaction between people.
Mm. Yeah, we very quickly moved away from the sit on the step thing when punishing them because it didn't work. Very the only variation of that now is, did you do you feel you need to calm down? Are you okay? Do you want to sit down and just take a break and move yourself out of the situation for a bit? That's the prompting we do with our two. And sometimes they actually do the same with us.
I was, yeah. What's interesting is so one of the boys that I've coached a couple of times now. He hasn't been diagnosed but suspected all the things, and he gets emotional, as everyone does. But when he starts to get just a little bit emotional, his mum pulls him away. So he doesn't have the opportunity to try and regulate his own emotions, to try and control his own behavior, to self-organize his behavior. It's just he's getting irritated. No, you're getting frustrated. You need to come off the trampoline. You need to sit down here and cool down. And to me, that doesn't help them develop the expertise in managing their emotions, managing their behavior. Are they likely to explode? Yes, but that's part of learning. If they're going to explode, shout and scream to let it out, they need to have a safe environment for them to do that and then recognize, well, actually, you know what? That didn't help anyone, not even myself. I should probably self-organize in a different way. But that's
Mm.
them having the opportunity to fail, to make the mistakes. And that to me is parenting through an ecological approach.
Yeah.
That could be huge, but I'm not a parent, so I can't
It
speak to much
is
experience of that.
because it works. It was really interesting. We'll talk about this afterwards, I think. Think about it. But yeah, I had an experience with my mum, which was a similar thing, which was interesting, which we can talk about afterwards.
Hmm. Yeah, I think what I would like to do is talk more about taking an ecological approach from more than just sport, because the approach in psychology applies everywhere. As Julia said in a recent interview that's going to go live on the channel when I've edited it, I spoke with her and she said, yeah, ecological psychology, the ecological approach is everywhere. And she suggested
Mm,
that it's could be the next paradigm shift, the way that we view science. And I truly believe that.
I hope so.
Yeah, it's going to take a while, but
Do it quicker.
is there anything else you want to add?
No?
I think that was a nice conversation about
Yeah.
both of us. And to me, this is a reflective conversation of both of us.
Yeah.
Um,
It's
yeah,
good.
so it's healthy. Right. Thank you,
Yeah.
everyone.